Excellent. My name is Yetnebersh, quite complicated Ethiopian name, but you can call me Yeti. And I have amazing, distinguished speakers who will be introducing themselves. And this session is about higher education and students with disabilities. And I am so glad to be among those who managed to establish more than 10 centers for students with disabilities in universities in Ethiopia. So I work for UNICEF and I cover 21 countries. I'm not from UNICEF Kenya. I am from the Eastern and Southern Africa regional office of UNICEF. Not to eat a lot of your time, I would give my panelists to introduce themselves as nicely and gently as possible. And we will be having maybe around 15-20 minutes talk, and we want to have a dialogue. We don't want this to be a monologue. Will you agree with me? You want a monologue or a dialogue? Okay, so we use the time. So I will start from my right end because home comes first. Nyombani kwanza.
Good afternoon. We were really waiting for this session. My name is Brenda Kiema. I'm a disability inclusion officer at Tangaza University, the youngest university in Kenya. We are hardly 3 weeks because it was chartered on 2nd. And thank you. Yeah, we are excited. So that is me.
Wow, Tangaza, right? Can somebody repeat the name? Tangaza University. Brenda Kiema is my guest. I have another distinguished one on my left side.
Thank you.
You have a mic. Okay.
Thank you, Yet. My name is Dr. Victor Boiyo, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Student Life at USIU-Africa. I am clad in a suit with a green tie because I also advocate for green economy. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Victor. Kate, please.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kate Sonka, and I'm the Executive Director at Teach Access. We are a nonprofit organization in the United States, and we work to support educators in higher ed to teach about accessibility and disability to students so that as they graduate and they go into the workforce and start their careers, they know to create websites, apps, products that are accessible from the beginning so that it's not something that's added at the end or left out. That's what we do.
Great. Do you feel power in the room? Yes. Perfect. Thank you. Then give it the power. Give it a shot. You can give them a big applause. Yes. This is higher education session. We cannot afford not to smile, not to shout, not to dance. Before that, we forgot to explain ourselves. I have, what do you do? This is straightened hair, right? I am a milk chocolate. I never knew that I was milk chocolate until this morning. And I'm wearing a very nice, multicolored jumpsuit from Ghana.
I have a mic. If she's milk chocolate, I think I'm the same because I was pushing my hand close to her. I have short hair, wearing African attire. This is kitenge. Yeah, I'm short. I think I could be the shortest in the room. Not too short, but most of you are taller than me. Thank you.
Excellent. So I will be giving some questions for my dearest panelists to reflect on. Well, in the session outline, I can see what are the challenges, but I don't think that's the question. How many of us in this room have gone through higher education? Can you raise your hands? It's not a crime if you don't, but raise your hands if you have been to the higher education. Can you see? Almost 90 plus. Okay, perfect. Then I don't have to tell you the challenge. So I would love to hear more from the higher education side, mainly starting with Brenda. And then maybe Victor, you can add maybe a little bit about what strategies we have in place to overcome digital inaccessibility in higher education institutions? And how are the staffs as well as the platforms designed? Maybe from there we can go to the other ones. Maybe Brenda, you want to start from Tangaza, and then we can go to Victor. And for Kate, I have another question.
Thank you very much. This is an interesting conversation because before I came for this conference, I started reading around to see how many persons with disability are in higher education. And I came across a very disturbing report by Commission for University Education that for the last 54 years in this country, it's been the completion for a person with disability in higher education has been capped at 1.6. That is almost, we are not there. I looked at the statistics. They were talking of 650 something in public and 112 in private universities where I am. So that tells you there's a problem. There is enrollment, but transition and completion, that is where the problem is. And where I work, we have between 2019 and up to now, we have around 38, and 15 of them are visually impaired. We tried our best to improve the learning environment, but these are the challenges. Let me call them our experiences or the barriers. Now, the cost of assistive devices and also issues of internet, sustainability of learning of someone in class who needs this internet for a certain period, it's not there. The other thing is we have existing policies even in the universities because it's a requirement by the government, by the commission, but are we implementing them? That's where the biggest question is. And let me tell you where the problem begins. In our strategic plan or the strategic plan of the universities, the moment they miss inclusivity, there is no budget for inclusion. Because for the 5 years, there will be no anything discussion about inclusion. The other thing is, in the boardrooms, issues of disability, they are AOBs, any other business. They are not like in the main agenda. And if it's like that, as an afterthought, then it means this will never be discussed, it will never be looked into. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Brenda. Maybe Dr. Victor Boiyo, even given USIU becoming one of the leading online education mechanisms, maybe you can tell us what strategies are being put in place to ensure that there is no digital inequality. I mean, maybe you can tell us more about the positive. This 1.6 number is very alarming, but it's not new. It's confirming what we know, right? It's not a secret. It's not a surprise. So maybe you can tell us more about that, and I will go to Kate to tell us about the collaborations needed.
Thank you. Indeed, you are right that there is a lot that we are doing at USIU-Africa. And one of the things that we have been so intentional, and the results have shown itself in the last 2 years, we decided boldly to be an all-inclusive university. And the numbers have grown from less than 100 to almost 300 now as we speak. Because we've made sure... Thank you, this is much better. Because there be a lot of deliberate effort, beginning with the structure of the university. We have a deputy vice chancellor in charge of student life, where one of the departments is disability inclusion. And it has staffing, it has technology, and it has everything, including budgeting for disability. The second thing, and what we've been able to focus in terms of strategies to make sure that we give accessible education, we have a threefold approach. We are calling it 3 Ps. We look at number 1, the place. How accessible is the campus? All the facilities, all the infrastructure, the library, the accommodation, the food service, the sports. It is the first private university to have launched para sports, for example. It's because of that facility. Number two is the processes. We have teaching, learning, and research going on in the university, building into that process universal design of learning. And that has come on board with a lot of things, including assistive technology, that we've been able to put in place to make sure that we meet each and every need of all our learners. And lastly is the people. And the people here has to do with staff, the faculty, and the students themselves. The kind of training, the capacity building to destigmatize, to bring an element of self-advocacy, acceptance, and making sure that as a community, we offer a culture that all the people can thrive. And this really has created an environment where everyone feels at home, they are supported, assistive technology is there, and you are able to thrive. And finally, this is wrapped together in a policy of the university. We have a very robust disability inclusion policy that is driving all these pieces and making sure that at the end of the day, all learners are able to achieve their potential in higher education.
Thank you so much, Dr. Boiyo. I think everybody remembers the 3P, right? What are the 3P? Place, processes, and people. And policy, yes.
Policy, yeah.
Fantastic, great. Kate, I want you, especially as Teach Access and given your role in supporting higher educations become more inclusive, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the collaboration that governments and training education institutions would need to have with technology developers as well as organizations of persons with disabilities to really enhance inclusive higher education. For me, inclusive higher education is the insurance towards having an inclusive Africa. So can you tell us a little bit about the potential collaborations? Maybe if you have any good examples where technology developers are working together, or even the role of peer support networks, maybe that you have come across. Over to you, Kate.
Yes, thank you, Yeti. That's a great question, and really it's at the heart of the work that we do at Teach Access. I think you've all heard and are probably have experienced that you can't do this work alone, or it would take a very long time, or we wouldn't really get as far as we need to get. And so it's crucial that there's collaboration between higher ed, as well as the younger schools, primary school, secondary school, along with government, as well as the tech industry, and of course we must include organizations supporting people with disabilities. In the US, this is something that we strive to do, and we do with our organization. We actually were founded in 2016 out of conversations that tech companies, big tech companies, were having with each other. And they were talking to each other and they said, you know, when we hire recent graduates from higher education, we find that very few to maybe none of those recent graduates coming into our organizations know what accessibility is. They maybe have never learned about it in their class. Can you imagine? I mean, of course you can, right? You've probably experienced it. Students have gone through these several years of a program and never learn about it. And so these organizations talked to each other and said, what do we do? The only way to begin to address this is through collaboration. And so companies like Google and Microsoft, who are here, along with Meta, which is Facebook, and many more, reached out to university partners that they had, through various different projects and programs, and said, how can we start to develop programs and resources that can be used by educators? And we have to ensure that we have collaboration from, at least in the US, we're really right now in Teach Access looking at state governments. We've had some conversations with the federal government, so there's definitely more to do there. But it has to all be working together. We need to know what is it that the industry is looking for so that we can prepare our students, but it also has to be in line with legislation that's coming. So we need to know what is it that states are requiring of products, what is the US government requiring of websites and apps. And again, we've all heard this theme over and over again, and it's so crucial, nothing about us without us. And so we always, every step of the way, have disability organizations joining in our work.
Excellent. With your permission, can I open up for the floor to come with questions?
Please.
Excellent. So hands up. Welcome to the dialogue session. You can put up your hands. I can see your hands. Okay. Can somebody pass over the mic for people? Okay, we have an extra one. Okay, great. Okay, can you tell us who you are and try to briefly put your question? That way we hear from more people. 3 questions and we'll bring it back here. Beautiful.
Thank you very much. Here, my question can be answered by both USIU and Tangaza. Since you now have persons with the visual impairment, what technology is available to them to enable their learning? And I'm asking this because I heard in one of the universities around where students are writing their exams in Braille and somebody else will have to transcribe that so that it can be marked, which I found to be very unusual in this age and year. The transcriber will make their own mistakes, they'll be handed to yours. So I'm asking, what technology do you have to enable people with the visual impairment to perform all aspects of learning, including reading as well as writing the exams?
Fantastic. No, it's okay. Let's take 2 more questions. Just have the questions, okay? Do we have 2 more questions? Thank you, Sam. No more questions?
Hi.
Okay, yes.
So this is actually a question for Kate. With the work that you do with Teach Access and teaching or making, kind of the universities more disability aware, accessibility aware, so their students graduate savvier, do you find that those universities either tend to become more disability inclusive themselves as a result of your work?
Fantastic. Impact question. Kate, hold that one, and then we will come back. Okay, one more, please. We have someone? No? Okay, perfect. Then I'll bring it back. I thought you wanted to speak more. So we start with Tangaza and USIU to quickly respond to Sam's question, and Kate will come to you for the last question. Brenda, please.
Thank you, Kabuye, for your question. At Tangaza University, we have never used Braille. We embraced technology from the word go. We leveraged on these screen reader, NVDAs, and this is how we do it. When our students come, because some are coming from secondary schools, others are coming from places where they use Braille. We collaborate with the Kenya Society for the Blind for them to learn the keyboard, and they are enrolled in the university. Right now we have graduated 2, and one is employed at the Kenyatta Hospital, the front office, because we gave her the employability skills where she doesn't need to have a guide when it comes to performing. So we don't use Braille at all. During exam, we give them exam in soft copy. We have a computer lab designated for students with visual impairment installed with different screen readers, and the low vision, we have magnifiers. So once they do their exam, it is printed immediately and put together with the other transcript that other students have done, marked, and they are all getting their results on the same time.
Thanks, Brenda.
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Boiyo.
Thank you. I think just to add to what has been mentioned, that is a very good question. At USIU, we have a Disability Resource Center that houses all our technologies, both software and hardware. And specifically to the question that you have asked, when you look at seeing impairment, they are in different levels, and different levels make use of different technologies, either adaptive or augmentative. But currently of course, in addition to the screen reader, we have other technologies and software like the JAWS, which really enables students with that impairment to be able to successfully go through their both academics as well as their examination. But most importantly is for institutions to have policies that provide reasonable accommodation. Because even in application of both adaptive and augmentative technology and computer software for that matter, you still need to have an individualized approach because, as I have mentioned again, people have different levels of impairment for that matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Boiyo. Kate, can you pick up the question forward to you?
Sure. So the question was, are faculty more likely to be more inclusive as they learn more about accessibility and disability? I think more or less was what you asked, Sarah. Am I getting it right? Okay. And the answer is yes. We still have a lot of work to do to raise awareness across faculty in the US, as well as students on these topics. But what we find is that when we approach faculty and say, hi, you're teaching a computer science course and you never mention accessibility or disability, which means your students aren't going to consider it when they go out to create software. What would it mean to be able to teach this in your class? Let's talk about resources and programs we have. Often the answer, if it's a faculty member who has never thought about this before, is not, no, I'm not interested, I don't care about that. It's, I've never thought about it, I do care about it, what do I do? And that's where we're able to provide some support there. And so we see this happening again and again in the US, is that it's often that faculty just aren't aware to even begin to think about what does this mean for what I'll be teaching. And so what we also see is once we've started working with a faculty member or have had some programming with students, it starts to spread on that campus. Because a student might be in a course with Victor where he's teaching about it, and then the student goes to Brenda's class and she's not teaching about it, and they raise their hand and are able to say, hey, I learned about this thing, could we talk about it in our class? So students become advocates as well as other faculty. They start talking to each other. And so to the question, yes, we absolutely do see this as certainly a movement that it spreads as more and more people are aware of it.
Great. I just want to hear more from all of you, maybe in terms of diversifying the type of students with disabilities. There is a complaint or a concern that universities are mostly dealing with blind and physically disabled children, but are not really ready yet, prepared yet to take in children with dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, given the very rigid nature of our assessment and the lack of understanding towards the diverse disability. Maybe you can talk a little bit, especially Dr. Boiyo and Brenda, what other accommodations do you have for other types of disabilities other than blind or those with physical disabilities?
Thank you. At Tangaza, we have 4. The visually impaired, we have those who have hearing impairment, we have ADHD, and those ones are the interesting cohort because you know their concentration span is short, so during exam time, they have time in between to recollect themselves and continue. One of the issues that universities, let me talk about Tangaza, is issues of budget, the cost of accommodation, and it is possible. Disability inclusion is very possible when it's presented in a manner that the leadership understand. But don't forget about the issues of status quo. That which disturbs the norm, it becomes something that needs to be rejected. But as you continue having this conversation, they get to what we call aha moment, and then they open their space. So other types of disabilities like CP, cerebral palsy, it needs more attention than the 4 that I have listed, but we are still in this conversation.
Thank you so much. I mean, we believe that everybody is learnable. And maybe, Dr. Boiyo, you can answer the same question, but also highlighting, since you told us now the number of your students has reached 300, maybe you can highlight about the benefit of maybe peer support networks and mentoring, especially in regard to digital accessibility. The first thing I will do to know something is call a blind fellow, like if I want to do something. And do you see that power of peer support networks being exercised within the USIU-Africa network over here?
Thank you once again. I must say that I'm so privileged to be working at USIU-Africa because all our programs are accredited in Kenya and in the US. And really, that accreditation, especially from the US, expects us to be able to admit all manner of learners. And for that matter, that is why we have huge investment that has been able to take care of all these disabilities, including issues around neurodevelopment challenges and all that. So really, that is the space in which we are playing as an university. And that's why you will find that at a policy level, at a strategy level, and at a practice level, and a very individualized attention to the learners. The second thing that we have realized, which institutions and corporate organizations must appreciate, is that this group of learners at times are the most talented and most skilled people. There's only need to be able to support them and give reasonable accommodation so that that potential can be realized. And I mentioned that because of the number of innovations that we've been able to receive and see in the university, courtesy of students who have been supported through what we have in the university to assist students with disabilities. Now, to the second question that you have asked, you are right, especially with the increase in number of students with disabilities, and again from different countries. One of the things that we realize is very fundamental for us to be able to adequately support these students is to look at the area of mentorship and peer support. We have taken it to the next level to even have a council of students with disability besides the general student council, so that we can give it a very necessary attention to be able to pick all the things that we need to be picking at a rolling level. And what has this done? As we speak today, we have, I think, 2 of our students who are joining the German embassy as interns, simply because of the activities that they have been doing as students, given by the support within the university. I say this because mentorship and peer support is very key in developing social skills. Also, it helps them to feel a sense of belonging. And when they are real in that space, they're able to express them better. The third thing, having that council of students with disability gives them a voice. And you're able to see a collective action, collective voice. And really, the university has no choice but to listen to what they are saying. And another thing I need to mention is that when you have that, you're able to enhance personal development and soft skills of these young people. They're able to communicate, they're able to interact, they're able to co-create, they're able to work together in teams and come up with solutions. I cannot overemphasize, but the jury is out there that peer support and mentorship groups are very important in supporting our students in this category.
Excellent. I will do a final call for inputs and questions. Otherwise, I will let the panel give a summary and we will conclude. Does anybody want to contribute to this discussion? Yes, there are 3 hands. The briefer you are, the more we can hear. Can we quickly pass microphones, please? Thank you.
Hi, thank you. So I'm thinking we actually have a very privileged group here. Let's say for those that are within Africa, we have Dr. Victor, we have almost Dr. Brenda. Now, with universities that are already pretty sophisticated in this space, so it's really a very good news story. How representative are you? I mean, you're at Inclusive Africa. Where is everybody else? I mean, it's okay that they're not here, but are you representative of the larger whole?
Thank you. Second question, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. I know it is, and I think we all agree that it's really important to invest in inclusion strategies at our campuses and in higher education. But for some institutions, funding is a challenge. So what are some ways and strategies that we can speak to higher education institutions who have these competing demands that, mainstreaming inclusion is incredibly important, despite, the different financial challenges they may have?
Thank you so much. Last question, please. Thank you for being brief.
Afternoon, everybody. My name is Emmanuel Ngulube, and I'm proud to be a product of Tangaza University.
Look at this product coming up. Great. Go.
Yeah. So it's excellent to hear these innovations and what is happening in terms of inclusion at this level. But I was wondering, as universities, where are we in terms of at advocacy level? Are we doing anything around advocacy on these issues in terms of engaging government and so forth to make sure that this environment, enabling environment, is sustained in these universities?
Excellent question. What else could be a tying question? Should I start from Kate and maybe we go to Dr. Boiyo and then we come to Brenda? Kate, please.
Do you want me to address any of them?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And this is your last chance, unfortunately.
Perfect. That's okay. I think I'll take the second question around cost. And of course, that's a huge consideration. I can speak from our organization. Everything that we do and offer is free, no cost. So everything that we have is available to all of you now. You can go to teachaccess.org. I'm going to plug that. But everything we do is free and no cost. In some cases, we have programs that provide funding to faculty to be able to participate and be in trainings and so forth, because this is such a crucial part. Faculty are incredibly busy people. To approach them and say, please do this extra thing, and when do you have the time? And so we really want to put money to it, essentially, to say this is how much we care about it and how important it is that it's free for you to use it, or we even provide funding to you. So I encourage and welcome all of you to please connect with us, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'll pause there for others.
Excellent. Dr. Boiyo, please.
Thank you. I'll begin with the advocacy, and especially from where I sit as USIU-Africa. One of the things that we are focusing to achieve is really to be a center of excellence on matters inclusivity. And that is very strategic because we want to send a message. I am happy that it has started resonating with the government agencies. I think the beginning of this year, we were with the government spokesperson on campus, and shortly we were with the Prime Cabinet Secretary. We were having all this discussion because of the recently opened Disability Resource Center. And basically we are communicating, and we want to take that message to them that this is an important point that all of us need to focus on, and we are hoping that we'll be able to do that. One of the key challenges we face as universities, of course, is funding. But because we have advantage of faculty who can engage in research and proposal writing and working with partners and sponsors, I think that's a very important area in terms of raising resources that can enable us, for example, invest in assistive technology, train our people and build capacity. That is the way to go. And if we are able to do that, it is very possible for us to incrementally. We may not have everything today, but we must determine that incrementally we must make investment so that in a short while we can reach where we want to go. And finally, regarding whether we are representative, I believe that yes, we are representative, but maybe we may be the people leading as others follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Might to be Dr. Brenda, please.
Yes. They are calling me to be, because next year I'll be graduating with our PhD.
We will all be there for the party next year.
Social transformation, governance. So thank you. I want to respond to the three questions. I'll start with the one of advocacy. Thank you for being in the room. I'm glad. So we at Tangaza University, when we started this journey of opening or improving the learning environment for persons with disability. If Daktari, you are there in 2019, we were inviting all the universities for something we used to call a Universities Disability Inclusion Network. And we had several workshops, and I remember USIU, you came like twice. And to scale up that, we decided to have partnership for 3 years with 4 universities so that we can open the space for students with disability to make choices for program. Because you may find that someone wants to do maybe engineering, they want to do something to do with food security, and us, we don't have. So these 4 universities that we decided to partner with, we entered into an agreement, and we normally do joint trainings, joint students activities, and these activities, we call them ability concert, where we see what persons with disabilities they can do. We have had 19 trainings for our faculty members, and the most interesting thing that all of you need to know, we have 2 types of these professors. There are those who are laggards, who are still carrying the yellow papers, and they are so stuck on that. That is the only information they know, and they are the new generation that has fully embraced technology. So you'll find these people, somehow they are conflicting, but what we do in our trainings, we embrace both of them and we move together until the cohort of the yellow pages meaning the white page that has been carried for many years, until it has turned yellow, because those are the notes that you have to keep on copying. They embrace it slowly by slowly. About representative, the university knows I'm here because they gave me the permission. And from here, I'm making notes. So during our faculty development workshop, I will have to do a presentation of all these inclusive Africa discussion, and where are we? How can we position ourselves in this? About funding, all the universities, actually the USIU, they have more advantage over us because they got a scholar program. Us, what we do, we make sure that all the scholarships that are designated for different groups, we have at least a percentage for the persons with disabilities. And that's why none of them is sent home. And where I sit, I keep mobilizing resources, especially for laptops, to purchase this software. JAWS is very expensive, and NVDA is free. But you'll find that most VIs, and they're in the house, they prefer using JAWS as their screen reader. So they have a reason for that, but we always mobilize resources for that. So I think I've responded to all.
Excellent, thank you. Do they deserve an applause? Perfect. Excellent. So, I mean, this is a work in progress. I work in the UN system, and we have a clear commitment to get more employees with disabilities. But the number one answer I hear from our human resources, our talent pool colleagues, is that persons with disabilities do not apply. Even for internship, even for UNV, even for JPOs, Junior Project Officers programs. So we are quite few in the system, but we have made clear commitment in the UN, like in UNICEF, we want to have 2% more increase of our employees with disabilities by 2025. And by 2030, we want to get that number. 7% of the global employees of UNICEF should be persons with disabilities. This is a number which can be measured. This is a tangible, concrete commitment. However, we cannot achieve this alone. As Kate and Dr. Boiyo were saying, disability inclusion is something that you can never do alone. And we need to work with universities, ensuring that we absorb the skills that they're producing. And we don't want all persons with disabilities to be disability inclusion officers. We want them to be accountants. I'm not trained on disability. I'm a lawyer by profession. I am a social worker. And I think we really need to acknowledge and recognize efforts like by MasterCard Foundation to really yield professionals with disabilities with the required higher education academic qualifications. This needs to be recognized and maximized and diversified. We really shouldn't always be focusing on the usual suspects. And technology is the big opportunity we have in the room. And opportunities like Inclusive Africa Conference are places to connect, discuss, innovate, think out of the box, and walk outside the GPS to make our world a better, inclusive one, ensuring that children with disabilities are not starting in kindergartens and dying in kindergartens. Thank you, everyone. Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you.